Dr. Khan, could you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started, your specialization, what you love to do, what gets you up in the morning, all the things?
Yeah, so I was born in Taiwan. I moved to the United States when I was 12. And so my background, my parents always grew up in an Eastern Chinese culture, very much into using food as medicine. In Chinese culture, it's kind of like, hey, you eat the eye, it's good for your eye. Eat the liver, it's good for your liver. It's always about supplementing and how to boost your health by eating a specific way. And so I had a lot of influence with that. And then my journey started when my father had liver cancer at the age of 76. And then he was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer, told he has 6 months to live. And my brother and I basically took that as hey, we're not going to take that as an answer. And we started helping my father make lifestyle changes, nutrition changes, and very basic thing that we did at the time. But it literally, my father lived another 5 years symptom free. And every time we go back to the doctor will say, wow, like, what are you guys doing? This is considered a miracle at the time. But that taught me a lot, that no matter how bad your symptoms are, how long you had the condition, there's always something you can do to make things better. So keep hope, up. And then eventually I went to chiropractic school. And, along that journey, I kind of started out being a regular chiropractor, but then really got into nutrition, functional medicine because of my own children. They all had health issues and allergies and food sensitivities. So long story short, I got down that path and never looked back. So now I practice completely virtually online, consulting with patients throughout the entire country through video consultation. And we run labs. We, just really dive into identify the root cause. So hopefully there's something I can share tonight that'll be of value to people attending tonight, that'll help them to know that there's something they can do either themselves or, somewhere they can get help from.
Awesome. And what website, if we want to get in contact with you and learn more about what you do, what's the best way? What's a website link we can drop in there?
Yeah, absolutely. My website's askdrkhan.com, and that's ASKDRKAN.com. And really the best resource that I can share with everybody is just my YouTube channel. I have over 250 videos online. Those are free resources for people. And I present information on whiteboards because I like to draw things out and show people pathway. The way I explain things, I don't dumb it down. I just speak to you in English so you get it instead of medical terminology or Latin. But I really just give it to you the way I understand it, but try to explain in a way that's layman's term. And so that you're getting the whole truth, the whole information, not just bits and pieces of it or sound bites, but the actual information. So I'm going to do that with you guys tonight, and hopefully I can provide some value here.
Awesome.
So good.
Yeah, you're such a talented speaker, which is why you're we obviously love to feature in our series, and so good at explaining complicated things. And obviously extremely well versed in a diversity of fields. And so it's particularly your neurological stuff I find really interesting as well. Do you want to explain a bit about that speciality as well?
Yeah, so in chiropractic, there's different subspecialties. Just like in medicine, you have cardiologists, you have neurologists, and so forth. In chiropractic, there's subspecialty like that. So I'm a board-certified chiropractic neurologist. So with my training, it's really focused on how to use non-drug, non-surgical approach to help affect brain function, to improve it. If people have depression or anxiety, or they have numbness, tingling, or any kind of imbalance or vertigo, how can we use different type of eye exercises or different kind of rehab exercise or nutrition to help people recover from those things? So that's one part of my credential or training. And then the other side of that is the metabolic side, which is functional medicine, looking very deeply into immunology. I know the series that we're featuring in, there's so many great feedback on this docuseries, Gut Solution. But remember, your gut is just one big immune organ. People think it's digestive organ. It's really where all the immune system action really happens, or majority of it. So, the other side that I dive into really is immunology, how that relates to autoimmune disease, chronic digestive issues, and how do I merge that with brain, because the gut-brain connection, and how does that actually work, the wirings of it. So, we'll get into that tonight.
Awesome. Well,
So
we've
good.
got plenty of questions to get through, and we've got some high priority questions as well from people that have been waiting to get their question answered for a while. So Sarah, let's kick it off. And yeah, we can't wait. I love seeing you in the zone when you start getting focused in the zone. You're like so precise in how your mind works. So you guys are in for a massive treat tonight.
So good. Okay, this first question comes from Terry, and I feel like this question might be interesting for a lot of people listening tonight or today, depending where you are. Dr. Khan, first let me say the series is fabulous. Awesome, that's lovely. I've learned so much about cleansing the gut, liver, kidneys, etc. And I think all my organs could use a cleanse. Is there a certain order that is most effective? Do you cleanse gut first, or do kidneys, then liver, then gut? Do you need to leave a certain amount of time between cleanses?
Okay, so that's a great question. You know, in my video content on my YouTube channel, and a lot of times when I speak outside, I talk a lot about this clinical priority. Okay, so this is really important. I'm glad this is the first question. So yes, there's an order that you do things. So think about the clinical priority as a step-by-step. Okay, what do you do first? What do you do second? What do you do third? So the analogy that I always use is that if you see somebody laying on the side of the street, unconscious, and you want to help, this person's not breathing and has a broken leg, which one do you fix first? Everybody put it in the chat box. Do you fix the breathing or the broken leg? Which one? Let's see how smart these people are.
I say broken leg.
The hangnail. Yeah, of course, right?
Oh, man, I'm wrong.
Remember the ABC of airway, CPR, right? We learned how to triage. You treat the most life-threatening thing first. Well, guess what? In natural medicine, functional medicine, or health in general, there's that triage. You got to fix the most important things first. So an example of this will be somebody who has, hormone symptoms. They feel hot flash, night sweats, and they have fatigue, and they feel like the brain's not working too good, brain fog, memory loss. And then so this person, when they go to the doctor, they're given hormone. Oh, you must have hormone problem. Take estrogen, progesterone. That must be it. Well, guess what? If you really dive in and ask, this person actually has hypoglycemia, the blood sugar is low, or have episodes of low blood sugar where if they don't eat, they get lightheaded, shaky, irritable. And then this person also has blood pressure problem. The blood pressure is low consistently. If you have low blood pressure, you can't perfuse your blood. No perfusion means no delivery of oxygen or glucose to your tissue. Guess what? Low blood pressure, low blood sugar, you're not making energy. So here, this person taking a estrogen replacement, hormone replacement, when they should be fixing the blood sugar and the blood pressure problem. That's a perfect example. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like today, I'm here on business, really. It's the president of a company who I helped the daughter, 17-year-old daughter. She has Hashimoto's, to be sure, yes, she has autoimmune disease, but she also just has terrible energy, foul mood, can't concentrate in school. I asked, what's the eating pattern? She eats like 1 or 2 times a day when she gets a chance to. Well, guess what? You're setting yourself up for low blood sugar, and she also has clinical lab findings of low blood sugar. So I put her on an eating schedule, right? Obviously, we cleaned up the diet as well, but eating schedule, eating consistently every 3 hours. Next thing you know, she's a different person. She's listening, she's outgoing, she's talking again, she's herself. I mean, what did we do? I didn't give her hormones. All we did is just get her to eat correctly to fix her blood sugar. Yes, we fixed some nutrient deficiency, vitamin D deficiencies, things that impact Hashimoto's. But the big lesson there is fix the priority for that person. Now, the question, detox priority. Is there a priority? When you say cleanse the body, I'm going to assume that when you say cleanse, that you're trying to get rid of something you don't want, right? Because we have to kind of define these terms. A lot of times we say cleansing or detoxing. What is that? Detoxification in medical terminology means to get rid of things in your body that's too much. Okay. Now that something too much could be something that's you need. For example, if you have way too much hormone, you'll have to detox that too. So if somebody take too much thyroid medicine, thyroid hormone, that's called thyrotoxicosis, or you're toxic with thyroid hormone because you took too much medicine. So you have to detox that too. So don't think detox just toxins. Could be something that you need, but you overdose with it, right? So detox means you'll have to facilitate your body getting rid of something. So when we say cleansing, yes, there's liver, there's kidney, there's all that stuff. What's the priority? it really depends on your symptom and your test result. But really, it's like, what's your priority, right? If somebody has, obvious signs of metal toxicity, then liver will be first, right? If somebody has obvious signs of a lot of GI dysfunction, then gut will be first. So some of this is dictated. You have I call it fielder's choice, like in baseball. You get to just choose which one you want to go with first. So that's why in functional medicine, there's not like one way or, the only way. There's different ways to skin a cat. But in general, I would say work on the gut first, in general, before the liver. Why is that? Because your gut is 70% of your immune system. If you heal the gut, you're going to reduce inflammation load. If you heal the gut, you improve absorption. If you improve absorption, you're going to get better fuel delivery because you can make energy better from the food, that you can extract the energy from the food. So it's all about energy first, right? Without energy, you can't really detox anything. So if you can improve digestion, you decrease immune response, you decrease reaction, but you also improve nutrient absorption, which increase your energy. And remember, part of that digestion is the liver too. Think of liver as kind of part of that digestive process. Why? Because liver makes bile, and bile is stored in the gallbladder to help you break down fat and to help you detox as well. So kind of think of liver as a digestive organ. Now that people don't think like that. They think, liver is just detox. That's not true. Liver wears a lot of hat. And so we have to, if I were to put a priority on it, I work on the gut first. If this person has liver and gut issue, which one do I go with? Start with the gut, and then you work on the liver. Now, kidney detox, is like, how do you do that? Yeah, there's supplements you take, but in general though, the kidney is very sensitive to toxin because it has a lot of fine capillaries that act as filters to filter out the toxins in your blood, right? Every drop of blood is filtered through the kidney and the liver. So these fine capillary are very sensitive to damage. So if you have toxins or heavy metals, these fine capillary will get damaged, and that's where you get kidney problems show up on lab tests as decreased GFR or glomerular filtration rate. So then that's when kidney problem come into play. So really, a lot of the time, what you do for the kidney is kind of similar to what you do for the liver. It's not really drastically different. So that's kind of how I would take that, starting with the gut, liver, and then the liver and the kidney kinds of being worked on at the same time.
Great teaching. Thank you, Dr. Khan.
So good.
That was great.
And I'm sure everyone here is loving that. It's just such a bombshell in 5 minutes.
Awesome. So this next question comes from Milena. She says, and so this is for everyone. I think it would be great to make it a little bit general as well, Dr. Khan, for anyone doing an elimination diet, because this is what this question is about. She says, I started an elimination diet 2 weeks ago following the autoimmune protocol. No gluten, dairy, nightshade, soy, eggs, seeds, beans, and nuts, with the hope to reduce bloating, hormonal imbalances, and inflammation. As a pesco vegetarian, I have been struggling a lot with my protein sources. Do you have any advice regarding this? Furthermore, I feel like I'm developing more and more food sensitivities. I have never had that many mouth ulcers, and my overall digestion seems to be difficult, with sometimes even nausea or stomach pain. And I'm afraid that I might become sensitive to even the few foods I'm still allowed to eat. Is this normal at this stage?
That's a very common occurrence for people with chronic digestive issues, leaky gut, gut problems, is that you become sensitive to all these things and you end up developing sensitivities, and you go on a restrictive diet, and now you're not eating very much, and then you feel like you have to cut out more, and it becomes a vicious cycle, because the more you cut out food, you run into the risk of getting nutrient deficiency, not to mention the stress of just like, what do I eat, right? So sometimes that's not the healthiest thing. I'm not saying elimination diet is not helpful, but when we over eliminate, that can be a problem. But what happens if you're reacting to everything, right? You eat it, you don't feel good, so you got to eliminate, but then you run into the problem of eating nothing. That's not a plan. So I will tell you, if you are reacting to more food, increasing food reactions and unpredictable food reactions are both symptoms of leaky gut. And the reason is because, remember, I said at the outset that your gut is really an immune organ. And what is the function of the immune system? To survey the environment for possible pathogens and bad things that we can get rid of. So if you have leaky gut, dietary protein that's normally digested completely before it's absorbed, now it's leaking out of your gut lining completely intact, where it should be broken down. these dietary proteins, when it leaks out of the gut lining, your immune system will start to attack. That creates an inflammation. That also creates a sensitivity to that food, that protein that's leaking out of your gut. So when you have leaky gut, you tend to develop more and more sensitivity, sometimes to the very food that you're eating, because you can't digest them and they're just leaking out of your gut. So where do you start when you have an increasing food reaction? Well, you have to heal the gut. Well, one of the ways to heal the gut is elimination diet. Yes, but remember, sometimes you can't eliminate your way out of a leaky gut. You may have to take some nutritional supplements to speed up the process so you don't end up, not able to eat anything. So this is where things like L-glutamine, amino acid to help, with the gut healing, things like deglycerized licorice root extract, which help decrease gut inflammation, things like okra extract, aloe extract. These are mucilaginous compound that kind of coats the gut. So kind of give your gut a break. If you have a scrape on your skin, you'll put something like ointment on it to protect the skin, right? Same thing, you got to kind of protect the gut a little bit to give it a chance so it can heal. In addition to taking digestive enzymes may be really important. So people tend to think digestive enzymes are there to help you digest food. I go a step further. I give almost, I don't sign everybody. There's nothing that I do that's with everybody, right? It's all customized and individualized based on the individual need. But I would say digestive enzyme is one of the things that I use a lot with people with leaky gut and chronic food reaction. So taking enzyme can decrease your food reaction. Why? Because you're breaking down the protein, the dietary protein that's leaking out. Remember, your immune system can only react to intact proteins. It cannot react to amino acids. Remember, proteins are made up of amino acid, which the other way to say is the amino acid is the building block of protein. Your body immune system only react to proteins, but not if the protein's broken down to its individual amino acid constituent. So if you can take an enzyme that'll help you break down the protein into its individual amino acid, there's no reaction to be had in the first place. So literally enzymes can help you reduce food reaction. That's just how important it is as part of the leaky gut protocol. I think a lot of people just kind of look at L-glutamine and things like that. Sure, absolutely. But enzymes is a really important component of helping reducing food reaction and also help you take the stress out of the digestive tract, because remember, if you have food, you need to secrete enzymes and hydrochloric acid to break down the food. That requires effort and energy to make the enzymes and hydrochloric acid, right? Everything in the body has a currency. It takes energy to make the stuff. So if you can take the enzyme, it'll help take the stress off your digestive system to have to make all these enzymes and stomach acid, and it'll just help you facilitate the digestion. So enzymes really important to help you to kind of address that. So I would say, no, it's not good for you to be reacting to more and more food as you go into elimination diet. So what that means is probably you definitely want to look at supplementation as a way to help you bridge that gap. And also remember, this is a big takeaway, folks. I'm going to give it to you right up front, all the good stuff, okay? So it's not always about food. I know we're really focused on food, and we rightly so. I believe food is medicine. That's the foundation. That's where it should start. But sometimes eating healthy doesn't get rid of an infection, and eating healthy doesn't get rid of a toxicity. What that means is if you have SIBO, parasites, candida, you can eat healthy and eliminate all the food you want. You're not getting rid of that parasite by cutting out gluten. Neither are you getting rid of mercury toxicity or pesticides build up in your gut because you're exposed to the chemicals or whatever. You're not getting rid of that just by eating gluten-free or eliminating dairy or eliminating more food. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we always like, oh, what do I cut out? What do I eat more of? Man, sometimes you got to just diagnose it. You just got to know what the heck you're dealing with and then go after it. Now, of course, you start with the diet, an elimination diet, and do some very basic protocol. If that fixes your problem, awesome, all done. If that doesn't solve your problem though, for example, for those of you that are listening tonight, if you're already eating super healthy, super clean, you cut out everything you can cut out, and you're taking some very basic supplement like L-glutamine and XYZ to help heal the gut, and you're still having a problem, consider the possibility that it may not be the food that you're eating. Now, it doesn't mean you go back and eat gluten, but consider the fact that maybe in addition to food, you got some other stuff going on. This is where, getting some tests done, working with a qualified healthcare practitioner can be really helpful. Just give you that insight so you're not trying to fix something that's not there, or you're trying to fix something that's not a priority. So
100%. I love that. And someone else loved your answer. Dr. Khan, Martha says, I want to hug Dr. Khan. He's the first doc I've heard stress enzymes.
there you go. A hug for you.
Big virtual hug.
So good.
Hey guys, where are you seeing these questions? Is it in Q&A or
okay,
chat?
So there's a mixture of places I'm reading from. So I've got the questions on our page. Some came through email and
okay, got it.
I'll just listen. I'm kind of like trying to collate ones I know. I'm kind of prioritizing people that haven't had questions answered yet that I know that have missed out in the previous weeks. But yes, so sorry you can't read along. I'm kind of picking and choosing everywhere. So this next question, since you mentioned L-glutamine, I thought it would be good to answer this one. Hi, Dr. Khan. I have acid reflux and IBS, and since I started watching the Gut series, I have started to take magnesium citrate and L-glutamine. I am finding, however, that I am still swinging between constipation and diarrhea. My bloating is also worse than before. Are there certain instances where people should avoid the above two substances, or am I perhaps trying to introduce too much in one go?
So, I think there's a lesson in that question for everybody. She mentioned 3 symptoms that could be coming from 3 different places. And then the treatment or the supplement she's taking does not necessarily address all of those 3 symptoms. One is reflux. I heard reflux being said. And I heard bloating. And then I heard IBS. Mm-hmm. That's anatomically coming from 3 different places. Mm-hmm. So the reflux is going to be stomach. The bloating is intestinal, small intestine or large intestine, SIBO, or small or large intestine. And then the IBS is down in the colon. So she's got 3 anatomical structure that's not working, right? So this is where it's important to understand where the symptoms coming from. If it's reflux, then you got to see, okay, you're not making enough stomach acid. So that's where, what supplement is she taking? She's taking L-glutamine. Yeah. So L-glutamine is not going to help with the reflux. It doesn't do anything for that, right? It's more like betaine hydrochloric acid. It's more about apple cider vinegar, right? Acidifying the stomach. That's the reflux. And remember, it's not always about food. It could be H. pylori infection. Then if it is, you got to eradicate H. pylori bacteria, right? So then that's not even about eating apple cider vinegar or whatever, right? And then the bloating, there could be multiple things overlapping that can cause bloating, right? Leaky gut, one of the symptoms is bloating. SIBO could be bloating. But you can have lower intestinal issue cause bloating. You can have microbiome issues cause bloating. You can have pancreatic enzyme deficiency that can cause bloating. So again, people always want a remedy. They want a supplement for that symptom, which is, it's fair. You should be able to try something on your own to see if you have simple solutions. So, but bloating could be so many things, right? So I think if I were to give you one answer that could help bloating, because I want to be helpful here. Yeah, enzyme, right? Obviously, it's pretty obvious. But if you take enzyme, you still have bloating, then you have to consider, okay, maybe it's not the enzyme. Maybe you have some, SIBO or infection, candida. It could be a number of different things, right? And remember, don't forget, you can have autoimmune to your gut that can cause bloating, like celiac, right? One of the symptoms of celiac is bloating. So could you have autoimmune disease of your intestinal lining that's causing you to be bloated? So that's why the way I answer these questions, not like, oh yeah, you have the symptom, take that. Next. That's not my style. And some people's like, I don't like that. He didn't tell me anything, but I'm telling you a lot. I'm telling you the underlying reason for it. I'm telling you the physiological basis for why you're having the symptom. And then you have to figure out which one of those options that's causing your bloating and then fix that real root cause of that bloating. Does that make sense? That's a better way to think. I like to teach people to think about it because that's how I think about it. So if I can give you my brain, if I can teach you how to think, then, you probably do what I would do and, how we go about fixing these problems. So now with IBS, again, it could be a lot of different things. SIBO can cause IBS, right? That's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, but you could have lower intestinal issue causing problem. You can have inflammatory issue in the bowel that's causing problem. You can have parasites causing problem. So, it's hard to say, but I would say with her, L-glutamine and what was the other thing that she was taking?
Magnesium citrate.
Again, that does nothing for any of those symptoms that she listed, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Oh, except for the constipation.
But she has alternating constipation and diarrhea. So then it's like, okay, so do you take magnesium for the constipation and something else for the loose stool? but then you're just taking something to try to treat the symptom instead of understanding why you're having the symptom.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you look at it.
Yeah. And then where would you recommend that she start? You said maybe enzymes would be good, but then...
Start with enzyme, because based on what she said, she's taking the magnesium and L-glutamine.
Yeah.
She's missing the enzyme. She potentially is missing acid, so betaine hydrochloric acid, and maybe apple cider vinegar. So that'll help the reflux part of it, if that's what the problem is. The bloating, potentially enzymes can help with that. And then, the lower part, then you have to maybe do I call it gut detox, but really what I mean is you have to clear any intestinal pathogens, right? So things like garlic, oregano oil, caprylic acid, these things that it can clear. I use a broad spectrum antimicrobial compound that kind of, multiple different things that work together to get rid of these gut pathogens. So there's a number of products out there, but you want to be thinking about perhaps there may be some gut dysbiosis, right? Too much bad bacteria that may have to clear out, and then rebuild the system after that. When I say rebuild the system, I mean, okay, yeah, you got to put in the good guys. I will say this also, this may be a question that will come up later. Probiotic is a temporary solution. Probiotic is just something you take to kind of help you get through it, but that's not going to change your gut microbiome. The way you change your gut microbiome is by feeding it differently. It's really through diet. Supplement-wise, probiotic is a temporary solution.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Because acid reflux came up, I might jump from that platform and ask a question from Claire. She says, I suffer from GERD and have had a sore throat for the past 4 months and get hoarse occasionally. I just saw an ENT doctor who told me that my throat is irritated from GERD and recommended I take a proton pump inhibitor for 3 months. Since I do not want to take the proton pump inhibitors, can you recommend supplements to soothe my throat? What should I be doing to avoid having this happen in the future?
Okay, great question. And my first answer is always, what's the cause of that GERD, right? So GERD is just simply gastroesophageal reflux disease. That means, you have reflux that's kind of irritating the esophagus and that part of your anatomy. But then why do you have irritation there, right? So is it because acid is refluxing up? And if so, then what's the reason for the acid refluxing up, right? Always ask the next why question until you can't hit any more whys. So, most common reason for why people have acid reflux is because not enough stomach acid. And so when you don't have enough stomach acid, the food just sits there and rots. The food putrefies. The putrefying food forms organic acid, and that's the reflux and the acid and the burning that you feel. It's from the rotting food, from not having enough acid in your stomach, not from your body producing too much acid. In fact, if you look in physiology textbooks, you'll find a lot of different ways for you to not make enough acid in your stomach, and very few physiological pathway for you actually making too much stomach acid. It's like almost none. Like, why would your stomach make too much acid? It just doesn't happen. You have stress, you're going to make less acid. You have thyroid problem, you're going to make less acid. You have H. pylori, you're going to make less acid. You have decreased brain function, so the vagus nerve in your gut, you're going to have less acid. Like, I give you 10 pathways for why you don't make enough stomach acid, and I'd be hard pressed to find one reason why you make too much. So really, the GERD is like, okay, improving acid. Now, if you say, well, yes, but if I take apple cider vinegar, it burns. Well, what that means is you have a irritation in the lining that normally should not be irritated. So you got to start with that first, right? So how can you address that? Now, again, we have to ask, why do you have the problem? So stomach acid not enough, but could be also H. pylori. If it's H. pylori, you got to get rid of bacteria, and you have to use things to coat the gut. Okay, so things that you can use to coat the gut, typically, if you have stomach lining problem, which is different than intestinal lining problem, like in leaky gut, it's kind of a different way to fix it. In the stomach lining, typically you want to use things like mastic gum. Mastic gum is kind of like your natural Pepto-Bismol. It kind of coats the stomach lining, and it kind of protects it from acid, where in the intestinal lining, you don't typically have acid in there, right? I mean, in the duodenum, you do. The first section of the small intestine, right after the stomach, you're going to have acid there. But the rest of the intestinal lining is not really in an acid environment. The stomach is, so that's why you use L-glutamine and deglycerized licorice root in the intestine, but you use things like mastic gum in the in the stomach. Okay, so that's kind of one of the things that and certainly aloe can still be very beneficial as well. Aloe extract can still help coat the gut as well. So typically those are the things. And certainly even deglycyrrhizide licorice can help with that as well. Okay, so these are things that kind of coats the gut and that help with the stomach or the burning from the acid there. Okay, but again, always address the root cause.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Great, awesome. Okay, so thank you. Thanks for that, by the way. That was really, again, in depth. I love how, like, with how you answer questions, it's not just like throwing out like a thing. You take us on the journey, which really helps me to learn. So I'm sure everyone else is learning a lot as well. So next question
is from Joanne.
Joanne, my son has had several brain injuries and deals with paranoia and auditory hallucinations. He is currently on very low dose of antipsychotic meds and mood stabilizer and would So we'd like to know if there is any safe protocols in addition to what he already does while he's on these horrible drugs. He's had Lyme disease from at age 5. He's 35 now. He also has bouts of diarrhea. As a child, he had CDF, about 10 years ago. I'm a firm believer in good nutrition. He currently eats fermented foods such as kefir, sauerkraut, and kombucha. He eats a good diet of mainly plants, no gluten or dairy. He takes plant-based whole foods products or fruits and veggies, plant-based omegas 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, cannabis CBD, as well as probiotic.
The question, our dream is to get off the drugs, but I need to help him calm and heal his gut. Would you suggest a parasite cleanse? I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle to really heal his gut due to these meds, but I'm scared to death what will happen if I take him off. Any suggestions?
Don't take him off the meds right off the bat, because you're going to make him worse. It's not fair to him. He needs help so that he can get through it, right? Support his symptom. There's nothing wrong with drugs if you know what you're using it for, right? Temporary symptom abatement, there's nothing wrong. Who's for us to say that he doesn't deserve to have some relief of symptoms? So there's nothing wrong with drugs. Just don't confuse it with actually fixing the problem. Now, through all of this, I haven't heard anything about what the actual problem is, right? We heard a lot about the symptoms, right? He has IBS, he has digestive issues, he has, paranoia, but that's not the cause of his paranoia.
He had severe brain injuries.
Several brain injuries. I think
then I will have to find out more about what's the nature of the brain injury, because brain injury could mean traumatic brain injury, if we're assuming that, but it could be also other type of brain injury, like from having severe febrile seizure from fever, or from chemicals, or from whatever. So that's not clear to me. But let's say, assuming it's traumatic brain injury, like he had concussion, head trauma. Then that's a big problem. But this is a really complicated case, because there's also a history of Lyme. There's also a history of C. diff and major gut infections. So, there's definitely the brain-gut connection. So this is where a timeline is really helpful. Okay, when did that start? Was a C. diff before the brain trauma, or the brain trauma after C. diff, right? If you timeline it, then you know what caused what first. What's pre-existing, what's not. So it's hard for me to say a protocol, because there's too many variables here. This is where a consultation could be really helpful. It's not like, oh yeah, just take this. I mean, it's not that simple. I don't have a simple answer, because I don't have enough data. I need more data in this point. Okay. And it's also paranoia and all these symptoms. There's something much deeper than just gut. It's not just a gut. Yes, gut's involved for sure with his history. There's other things going on, perhaps metals, perhaps toxicities. Again, we need to timeline this out to see what happened first, what happened second, so we know what's causing, or what's just the end result of something. Okay, so.
Yeah. Okay. So the question of, would you suggest a parasite cleanse? Probably not a high priority. Is that what you're suggesting, Dr. Khan? We need a.
So there's parasite cleanse, there gut cleanse, like getting rid of bacteria. There's candida cleanse. There's heavy metal cleanse. There's cleanse for everything you can imagine. Should she be doing all of it? It's a hard thing to say, because some of these you can do without harm. Some of these you can do and make him potentially worse. So if there's a potential to make somebody worse, we don't go play with that. We don't say, hey, just try it, right? So for example, heavy metal detox can potentially make him worse. I mean, you're pulling out stuff when his body's not ready to eliminate or cannot eliminate or don't have enough energy. Remember, I talked at the beginning of this, you have to have energy to do anything in the body. The energy is a currency of your body. You want to heal? Pay me some money. You want to make new proteins? Pay me some money in the form of energy so I can make the stuff for you. So if he has low mitochondrial function, don't have energy, cannot make energy, whatever's blocking him from making energy, you go detox him, you're just pulling the metal from one place and put it in another place, creating a flare-up. That's dangerous. We don't do that. So a lot of people just out there willy-nilly taking stuff to detox metals. Gosh, guys, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's all safe. I love natural medicine. Of course, it's safer than drugs in many instances. But if you do the wrong thing, you can still create major problems. So parasite cleanse, again, if you get rid of parasite, could you release the metal from the parasite and that can cause problem? Potentially. So should you start there? I don't know. Really, there's much more to be known about people who are like that, more fragile, right? More advanced, more severe condition, than to say, throw out a recommendation. So I think if anything, people should take away from this that, be careful, right? Learn more about what's going on and kind of have a formulated plan of what to start first, second, third. So you're not jumping the gun doing the fifth step when you should be starting step number one. I think that in itself is a lesson that's well worth taking because I've learned that lesson. I've done bonehead mistakes where I make people detox and they feel worse. I mean, that's not cool. So, and if you want to experiment with yourself, that's people's own, prerogative, but I can't recommend people do that on my own conscience because it could potentially make some problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So yes, definitely. I think anyone here, take that away. If your body, it is quite intensive on your body to do cleanses. Make sure your body's in a good place to be able to do that. It's not
absolutely
if you're not feeling well to go on a heavy duty cleanse. So
right. Now you could do lighter cleanse. There's different gradients of it too, right? Like
mm-hmm.
IV chelation is very aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you take some supplements, maybe not as aggressive. But again, it all depends on the health of the person. And again, the priority is energy first, right? If you have low blood sugar, you have low blood pressure, you can't win a battle because you have no energy. You have no fuel to fuel the fight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. All right, this question comes from Jody. She says, my 7-year-old daughter has kidney reflux and was on an antibiotic for about 2 years to prevent kidney infections. Knowing what I know now, I'm concerned about the effect this has likely had on her gut. The only issue I'm seeing with her right now is constipation. What should I be doing to ensure a healed and healthy gut for her now and in the future?
So finally, you gave me an easy one. Okay. So, if this is exactly what she's describing, there's no other complicating factor. Now, reflux in kidney, that's not a common thing, right? So she obviously had to take antibiotic, and she should, right, to prevent more serious medical conditions. But now, it doesn't mean the antibiotic's not going to have consequences or side effects associated with it. So, if you have taken antibiotic, you basically need to restore that flora. Again, I said earlier, probiotic is a temporary solution. Does that mean it's never appropriate? No, you can still take it. You can start there. But it's not like, okay, if I just take probiotic for the rest of my life, then this is going to be fixed and you just got to take it ongoing, take probiotic for the rest of your life. I think it's more about, okay, maybe you take probiotic for a month or two, maybe even 3, and then you started transitioning to building your own gut microbiome. Now, what we know now about gut microbiome is not the quantity of the gut bacteria that you have, but it's the diversity of the gut bacteria that you have. You want a whole bunch of different types, right? Now, with a microbiome research project, what they call the Human Microbiome Project, they're finding that we have at least 500 different bacteria species in the gut, and they're discovering more every day. So that's a lot of different species. And these species, each one may be like in the numbers of hundreds of millions, maybe billions. So you add up 500 species times billions of bacteria. I mean, we have hundreds of billions of bacteria, if not trillions of bacteria in our gut. So if we have 500 species and you take a probiotic like lactobacillus, what are you doing to feed all the other 500 species out there, right? Even if you take a probiotic that has like 5 different strains in it, what are you doing to feed the other 495 species that we currently know about? So that's why I say it's a temporary thing, and you're not really creating diversity. Even if you can take 100 billion count of a lactobacillus, you're just getting one bacteria in a really high amount, but you're not creating diversity. You want a rainbow of these guys. So it turns out the diversity of the microbiome is influenced by the diversity of your diet. So for those people doing very strict elimination diet, they're sensitive to everything, they're only eating 5 foods and that's all they can eat, they react to everything, that's not good. Because then you're losing diversity, which inadvertently is actually negatively impacting your microbiome, which the microbiome is what's going to develop sensitivity, or the microbiome health is what decreases the sensitivity of food. It makes your immune system more tolerant. The microbiome health is going to make you digest food better. The microbiome health is going to help you decrease gut inflammation better. All this contribute to less sensitivity to food. So you see, it becomes a vicious cycle and a bad situation for some people. And some people, they just have to, they can't eat anything. You know, that's just where they at, and we have to fix it. And that's where, you know, tests and, you know, whatever, or they have to try different things that works for them. But definitely diversity in the microbiome is caused by, or is improved by the diversity of your diet. So what that means is you don't want to just eat the same 5 or 10 food all the time. But they're superfoods. I eat acai, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower. They're super healthy. But yeah, you're just eating the same thing every day. That's not good. You want to eat different types of food. Now, when I say different type, mainly I'm talking about vegetable fibers, right? Not just, well, okay, so I'm going to go eat pizza because it's different. I haven't had pizza in a while. That's not how you feed the microbiome, right? You want to eat different type of vegetable that you haven't been exposed to. So a good way to do that is go to the supermarket and buy a vegetable that you either never eat or rarely eat, and find 3 recipes for it. Out of the 3 recipes for that vegetable, you're bound to find one that you like, right? And that becomes your go-to that you add to your repertoire. Next week, find another vegetable, another 3 recipe. You're bound to find one recipe that you like for that vegetable. So every week, if you add 1 or even 2 recipe to your repertoire, 4 weeks later, you got 4 up to 8 recipes, 4 new vegetable you never had. That's how you gradually create diversity. Now, if the question is like, well, how do I do that if I'm sensitive to everything? Well, that's a priority then, right? Fix the gut first. How do you fix the leaky gut? Decrease immune response. How do you decrease that immune response? You may have to cut out some before you introduce some. So that's where the elimination diet can be really helpful in the beginning, but that's never the plan long term. It's never the plan for you to eat elimination diet for the rest of your life. That's not my plan for my patients. I don't try to tell people that. I try to get them to, okay, I'm going to fix it, and then we're going to try to get you to eat as many food as you can tolerate. And that list of food that you can tolerate should increase over time. That indicates a sign of a healthy immune response. That should be the ultimate goal. Not to say like, okay, I need to follow this diet, and this is the rule, this is the law, I'm following this law. If I don't follow this diet, I get a ticket. That's not what this is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you. Awesome. Which one, Potsy? This one, which one haven't we done yet? Okay, so this one is quite specific. This comes from Rose. Are there contraindications, side effects, or adverse reactions drinking a small amount of aloe vera juice at 8 ml slow introduction after an hour of taking my levothyroxine medication? I take levothyroxine at 4 a.m. and after an hour I have to eat breakfast. Before eating breakfast, I take an 8 ml shot of aloe vera juice, and the brand name is Pure Aloe Force Raw and Purified Organic.
So I really like this question. and the reason I like this question is because it kind of, tells me about what Rose is thinking about, right? It tells me that she's thinking about, okay, this particular product. She gave a specific product name. But the product name doesn't really matter because there's hundreds of products of aloe vera juice. So that doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, some aloe vera juice is better than others. Who knows? Like, I don't know that, right? But also she's thinking about, okay, can I drink the aloe vera juice after the thyroid meds? Like, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, you're supposed to wait an hour before you eat anything after you take thyroid hormone. That's just what you're supposed to do. So can you drink aloe vera juice? Well, why can't you? So what's her concern, right? So I like to kind of dive into why people ask certain questions, because it shows that they may have some misconceived idea about something or misunderstanding about something or unnecessarily burden themselves with something that they don't have to be burdened with, you know? So like, I think this Q&A forum is awesome. It's a chance to demystify some of these things, right? Because we hear a lot of headlines, Dr. Google saying, leaky gut, XYZ, take this, take that. You know, I want to help people get into understanding of it's not about don't match up your symptom with what to take. Think deeper about what's causing your problem, and then then the right solution to that problem. But what a lot of people are doing, they're trying to match up a supplement with their symptom, not their problem, right? So the symptom is not the problem. The cause of that symptom is the problem. And sometimes there's multiple layers of that cause and three things, right? So like, just like the gut-brain thing, you have low stomach acid production. Why? Could be your brain, vagus nerve. Okay, in that case, what enzyme do you take? Maybe you don't take any enzyme ACV. You gotta get the brain working. Maybe that's where you start. For a lot of people, that's where they should be starting. They should be finding out, is my brain firing? How do you know if your brain's not firing? Do you have brain fog, memory loss, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, depression? If you do, your brain's not working, right? Now, of course, there's different severities of it. It's not a black and white. Some people have very severe issue with these. Some people have mild issue with it. But in any case, if you have these brain symptoms, your brain's not firing 100%. It's not stimulating that vagus nerve to innervate the gut. Therefore, your gut motility slows down, so you get constipation. And if your gut motility slows down, things sits there and ferment, then you get SIBO or SIFO. And then you're trying to treat the SIBO and the SIFO. You never get anywhere because you never fix the original problem, which may be coming from the gut. So we don't want to get caught in that trap, you know? It doesn't mean that some people can't have SIBO and SIFO and they just need to take something to kill those bad guys. But we have to look more holistically in that. Hopefully I'm able to expand people's awareness, kind of go upstairs a little bit, you know, go climb up a little higher and look at the whole thing instead of just looking at one place, the gut. I think you guys' series is awesome, Gut Solution. And it's kind of like, yeah, gut solution. That's how we got you in. But really, it's the whole thing, right? So
I'm loving how like you're teaching us to think as well. Like, because I think what you're saying there with like symptom and then like, you know, like supplement or drug, I think is very obviously programmed into us from a young age. And so getting us out of that mindset, even in natural medicine, to be like, you know,
it's even worse in natural medicine.
Yeah,
because there's so many blogs, you know, online. It's like apple cider vinegar drink, good for this. Here's an apple cider vinegar and lemon and honey thing, good for this symptom. Well, like, what the heck is causing that symptom in the first place? How about that, right? I don't think there's enough of that article. There's just a lot of article about take this to fix that. We need to have more blog articles and interviews and information about what's actually causing that. And it requires more thought process. And some people just want a quick fix. And you know, again, they deserve to know what they can fix to get them feel better, but still got to get deeper after that, right? So.
And before we like, you know, outsourced health, like, you know, in the last 100 years to like all these institutions, we used to have to think like this, you know, as kind of
you had to figure it out for yourself. Yeah,
exactly. So this is why I think it's so important. What you're listening to is that, you know, equipping yourself is equipping your community as well to deal with this stuff, to think differently and to start to learn and take, you know, that master that art of self-care, which is what you're teaching us. So thank you so much. This is really, really, really good foundational thinking for all of this.
And I think it's lacking, you know, and it shouldn't be. You know, we have all these brilliant doctors that's online doing summit and doing interviews, but I think it's like we don't relay that. Maybe it's not popular, it doesn't sell, you know, but I think we just got to do it, you know, and I for one kind of make it my stand, my position statement to do that. So I kind of like, you know, I hate to be like, oh gosh, you're dancing around my question, doc, but like I just can't just give you like, oh yeah, for that symptom, just take that. I feel like that's, for me, ethically, I can't do that because, you know, it doesn't mean there's sometimes not just a simple remedy for things like that earlier constipation problem. That was an easy one, but for the most part, you know, more thought process is helpful.
Wonderful. Tammy says, ooh, I love logical thinkers. To find one in the medical field is like finding a needle in a haystack. What a wonder Dr. Khan is. What a wonder Dr. Khan is, loving him. So yes, we're all enjoying this call. Thank you, Dr. Khan. This next question is about LDA. low dose allergy treatment. So she says, can LDA heal autoimmune and IBD? My background is below. So she's 40. She has had collagenous colitis, autoimmune IBD for likely 10 years. Diagnosed 18 years ago when I developed psoriasis, fatigue. 18 months ago when I had developed psoriasis, fatigue, and asthma. She's tested negative for SIBO and other gut infections and parasites. She sees a functional doctor, though most of the supplements he's had me on haven't made a difference. She started that autoimmune protocol. It's helped with the psoriasis and asthma, not the gut. So she can tolerate a few foods at this point. And so the doctor suggested LDA to help my body stop reacting to everything. Another doctor said this just puts a band-aid on things. I'm at a loss. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to heal and avoid medications. Do I try LDA? Something else? Thanks so much for your time.
So I wonder if she's talking about LDN or LDA, because there's two
different
things.
Low dose allergy treatment.
Okay. So that's LDA. So whether that will help with her IBD. So she has autoimmune disease. She's saying IBD, which means irritable bowel disease, which implies ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. So would that help with that? If she has allergies to certain things, then it may help dampen the allergy response. And who's to say that if she dampens the allergy response, then that doesn't calm down her immune system, and then she doesn't have as much inflammation, autoimmune flare-up. So potentially, right? So there's some potential value there. But, if she's having a lot of symptoms and she's, taking things and she's working with a functional doctor but not getting improvement, and I think here, I like to kind of pull out a lesson in every one of these questions. The lessons here is that if you're doing something and you're not feeling better, then you're not hitting the right pathway. You're not hitting the right root cause, right? Because if you were treating the right root cause, you would have been better. So that should be a rule for all of us, myself included, that if you're doing something and it's not improving, change your approach, right? Because if you're taking enzyme, I don't feel better taking enzyme, but I know I'm supposed to take enzyme. You're not supposed to take anything. How about you just take nothing and you feel great, right? So you shouldn't have to take something just to have function. So if you take enzyme and you don't feel any change, then consider it's not the enzyme. Maybe something else, right? Could be an infection, could be gut-brain connection, could be whatever, right? So if this person's been to a functional doctor and they're like, recommending these treatment or whatever supplements, every supplement, every treatment has a mechanism of action, meaning if you take an enzyme, what is it working on? It's working on enzyme, digestion, right? If you take vitamin D, what's that working on? Working on immune system, if you have deficiency. So everything has a reason for it. And if you take something you don't feel better, maybe that ain't it. Now sometimes you take something you don't know, right? Like fish oil. Oh, I take fish oil. I feel so good after I take fish oil. Like you're not going to feel better taking fish oil. That's not how fish oil works. It's an essential fatty acid, It's like I take vitamin D. I feel so much better. You're not going to feel better like symptom-wise from taking vitamin D. It works slowly by balancing your immune system. So some things you can rely on symptom, but really the bottom line is if you're not better overall after at least a couple of months, then you might need to change your approach. So again, look at what you're doing. If it's not working, go somewhere else. Like find a different mechanism. If you have SIBO, if you think you have SIBO, you've been trying to fix SIBO and you're not better, it's probably not SIBO. Or it could be a really resistant case of SIBO. You could make a case for it, but you need to have some evidence to support that it's, you're heading in the right direction, right? Testing or whatever it is, some kind of measurement to say that you're better. Or even symptom-wise. Okay, I'm treating SIBO, I'm 10%, 15% better. Okay, great. Maybe you keep going, right? You can continue to get more improvement out of it. But if you're like no better, like 6 months later, you still no better at all from doing whatever you're doing. That's a sign that's not working. Go a different direction. So you're not banging your head against the wall. That's no fun.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Elizabeth, I've had a lot of pain associated with my bowel movements lately. I was constipated, had nausea leading up to a bowel movement, which makes sense. But then it changed. So I would be nauseous afterwards also for maybe 30 minutes. The next week I did not have nausea leading up to the bowel movements, but intense nausea afterwards. Some mornings it gives me cramps and stomach pain all day. It has been suggested to me that I have a sliding hiatal hernia that could be the cause of the burning, ache, and sometimes nausea. Before eating in the morning, I'm still taking my usual supplements: slippery elm, DGL, ginger, and glutamine. Also, a probiotic in the morning. What do you think could be causing this?
So nausea, again, it's kind of it's a symptom. It can come from a lot of places, but usually, nausea is mediated by the nervous system, right? So your brain have to receive that signal in the emetic center, which is a part of the brain that triggers nausea. It has to have some kind of signal triggering it for you to feel nausea, to generate that feeling of nausea, which is like pre-vomit, right? You're not quite vomiting, but you want to. So something have to stimulate that. So then what's stimulated, right? So basically it's a urge for your body to get rid of something, right? So your body's trying to purge something. So you need to find out what you're trying to purge. Now, is it because constipation? Certainly, if you're really, really constipated, you can feel nauseous too, because your body's trying to purge. You can't poop it out. Maybe you want to go up this way, right? So they just generate that sensation. So, if you have that sensation after, sometimes it could be toxicity causing you to feel that way, if bowel movement can shift that. Remember, if you're toxic, one of the symptoms of toxicity to chemicals is nausea. A lot of chemicals cause nausea as a symptom because that chemical gets to your brain and triggers a sense that you need to throw something up to purge. So it could be some kind of chemical toxicity issue. And the supplement that she named, slippery elm and DGL, again, that's a leaky gut support. And a lot of people are taking leaky gut support, and there's no problem taking leaky gut support. You can take leaky gut support ongoing for long periods of time and not have it be any problem to take it prophylactically even. But that's not likely to fix the nausea problem. That's not a match for that particular condition. So I would think that you'll have to do more investigation there, because it's not, you can take ginger to help with nausea, but it doesn't tell you why you're having nausea, right? So certainly drinking ginger tea can help you dampen the nausea feeling, but that's nowhere close to answering why you have that. So I'd be curious in finding out why you have that.
Is there any certain tests that you would suggest if you were, working with her? Would be any testing that you think? Is it like a heavy metals test or?
Well, so if we're suspecting metal, yes, you can test metal. The problem with heavy metal testing, which I don't do a lot of, because heavy metals store in the body, and it stores typically in very deep tissues like your bone, like your brain, like your organs. And once the metal stores there, it doesn't circulate in your blood. It doesn't get peed out readily. It doesn't, it's storing, right? Your body's kind of storing it so that it's not circulating and hurting you. So once it stores, if you do these tests for metal, typically they're urine tests, hair tests. You can test metal through urine, hair, blood, stool. And what happens, you're just measuring the metal that's in the urine, hair, blood, stool. Not necessarily the ones that's stuck in your bone, that's not coming out, the one that's stuck in your organ, the one stuck in your brain. So those tests are not all that accurate. It's accurate to measure what's in your hair, urine, blood, stool, but it's not accurate to tell you what's your total body burden, like how much is there. So you might excrete some in your hair and some in your urine and some in your blood, but how much is in your body, nobody knows. The only way to know that is do a whole body biopsy. Take a slice of every single tissue in your body, every part of your body, slice. Then you know. Who wants to volunteer for that? Like, there's no way to know. So you're basically just a very far extrapolation of what's actually happening in your body. So those metal tests are not that great. Now acute poisoning episode, yeah, you can test, right? It's going to be in your blood. You'll find it. But chronic exposure, like most of us had, by the way, we all have metal exposure. It's not even a question of whether, we all do. It's just to what degree and whether we react to them. And whether we react to them, it's an immune system response. That has to do with immune tolerance, which your gut plays a big role. So we can improve your gut immune response and decrease your reaction to the metal. So even if you have the metal, you don't react to it, so you don't get hit with it as much. That doesn't mean the metal can just stay in there and doesn't cause any problem. It does cause problem. But this is where, it's one of those things that you could detox, right? You don't have to test, just detox. But then you have to set up priorities. Okay, are you really weak and fragile? Do you have blood sugar, fuel delivery problems? Is your gut working? Is your liver pathways working? Okay, then we detox, right? So that's where kind of having this algorithm is really helpful, and that's what we do with with people to figure this out. But certainly for people who are not working with a practitioner, well, for her case, for her question, I will say metal tests I wouldn't do because I just don't do them. For that reason I just explained, but I might do stool testing to see if she got some kind of gut issue, right? See if they have gut pathogen, digestive issues, maybe she has gallbladder issues, bile problems. We can test that through stool. And a lot of it really, I want to tell you what the best test is. The best test is understanding physiology, understanding how symptoms are generated, paying attention to those symptoms, and then be able to really, from the history, pick out what's really happening. And that's what I've been doing all along with you guys on this video. Explaining to him, why do you have low stomach acid? What does that do? Oh, food ferments and you can't digest food, so they putrefy, so they rot. So now you have the food trying to come up. That's a reflux and heartburn. So I'm explaining to you how the symptom come about so that you can think for yourself. That's the best test. So that's what I do. A lot of times before I even run any tests, we're having a case review. I'm interviewing the person, asking every symptom they have and making connections and connect the dot. And from that, through this analysis and how I think, I'm gonna say, okay, these are the top 3 priority, most likely probability what you're having. And then we go test those top 3 most likely probability, not test everything under the sun, see what shows up, which is what a lot of functional doctors do. They say, hey, you have a symptom, this test, 10 tests, costs several grand, and we're no closer to your answer because they didn't even bother to really ask about or understanding the physiology of it. So
awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you. This question comes from Amanda. She says, my experience started with optic neuritis in 2015, 1 month after I started taking progesterone. I know this is no coincidence. Since then, I've always felt like it was in my gut. I fell out of a car at 4 years old. My eyes swelled shut for 3 weeks. I have had several small head traumas. I have several lesions on my brain, but as long as my diet is rigid, I do well. They've ruled out MS, lupus, Sjogren's. My TPO, thyroid peroxidase, AB, is 21.3, and I have positive ANA. I'm severely sensitive to chemical smell and fumes. I also get headaches that are relieved by my chiropractor when I can get to see him. I've had thousands of tests done with only more questions rather than answers. It seems to me that there is an underlying issue. My question is, where do I start in this scenario? Where do I start? What in this scenario is something jumping out at you? Thanks so very much.
I love this question. There's so many takeaways in this one. This is an awesome question. And I'm sorry you're feeling that. What's
Amanda.
name? Amanda. I'm sorry, Amanda, you're not feeling well. Just so you know, you have autoimmune disease. I know your test says lupus and all that stuff's negative. Optic neuritis, very few things can cause optic neuritis. Autoimmune is one of those things that's high on a probability. You could have a viral infection that can cause it, but really, with high ANA, and we'll have to see what other symptoms you have, right? Because you named off a lot of things, but there's probably more in your history. By the way, the history of head trauma is important. Head trauma is known to cause leaky gut, blood-brain barrier compromise, brain inflammation, leads to the higher probability of autoimmune disease, especially to neurological tissue like optic nerve. Sometimes you can have optic neuritis without having MS. So even though optic neuritis is one of the classic symptoms of MS, MS is not the only thing that can cause optic neuritis as far as autoimmune goes. You can have just autoimmune to optic neuritis without MS. Now, they did tell you have lesions in the brain. So, MS, I can't imagine they say no MS. I don't know how they're coming up with that. But so treat it as autoimmune. So then so one of the things that you said is you spend thousands in doing tests, but no closer to the answer. Isn't that the case, right? Because a lot of these tests are just not worth the money you throw at it, unfortunately. Like the metal test, I wouldn't even start there, right? Because if you do the metal test, what are you really measuring? Is that really even the first priority? So you could be spending a lot of time and money doing tests that's just not going to tell you, and you end up with more questions than answers, just like she describes. So really, you have to be able to prioritize your findings. So that comes down to what other symptoms you have, and I will take it through my clinical roadmap, finding out, do you have fuel delivery problem? So the way I do that is I ask, okay, blood sugar, is your blood sugar stable? High or low blood sugar, both are bad. In fact, low blood sugar is just as bad, if not worse, than high blood sugar for brain function. And then secondly, I'm asking perfusion. Do you have proper blood pressure? Do you have cold hands, cold feet? Is your hair falling out? Poor nail fungal growth? That's a perfusion circulation problem. If those two things are present, you don't move past go, you start there. Okay? And then the third step will be like digestion, right? Remember, that's fuel delivery. If you can digest food, you can absorb nutrient, you can make energy. If you can make energy, you got money to spend to fix your body. That's the currency for your body, right? So you got to like get rich energy-wise, right? And how do you get rich? Blood sugar, blood pressure, all the stuff that I just talked about. The first 3 steps right there: blood sugar, blood pressure, digestion. That's where you start. Now, sometimes you can have other things causing low energy. That's not blood sugar, blood pressure, digestion. Like you can have a thyroid problem causing low energy. You can have low adrenal function causing low energy. You can have mitochondrial dysfunction caused by toxicity, whatever, causing low energy. Yeah, but I mean, that's where, you have to test. You can't guess all those things. But that's where you start. And then you work on the immune function. And that's a big topic, right? I mean, that's really my specialty, is immune system and how to discern the little tiny parts of it, how they play together. But again, I think for you have to address it as if you're autoimmune. If you're still very symptomatic, then you have to kind of look, kind of like what I said earlier. If what you're doing now is not working, stop doing those things, or do something else also to test the hypothesis that it could be something else. So, ask yourself, do you have these blood sugar problem, blood pressure problems? Find out, or work with a practitioner like myself that can put this, kind of take an inventory and say, okay, this is all the symptoms you have, but this is how they're related. Instead of like, wow, I got like 50 things wrong with me, but they're all like dots and I don't know what they mean. You got to have to make the connection and say, okay, based on this, first step, second step, third step, kind of like untangle a fish line, which knot do you untangle first? You got to like get the nitty gritty, but also step back like, whoa, okay, this is a big ball. I'm going to start over here, and you go in, right? So you have to be able to see big picture, small picture. So a lot of the time people get really nitty gritty, like, how about this supplement that's from like this particular company, this brand, this model, this year model, the 2019 version, like too nitty gritty. Just step back. What's the problem?
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
This question comes from Anna. She says, "Dear Dr. Khan, I hope you can help us as you are a gluten practitioner with training in child development disorder. My daughter was..."
This person looked me up.
Yes, yeah. She did her due diligence. My daughter was ill at 8 years old. At that time, she complained of stomach ache and headaches, but also developed depressive reaction and mood changes. HLA-DQ2 gene expression was tested positive and DQ8 was negative. After food allergy tests were introduced, gluten-free and FODMAP diet, and in 8 months she has recovered. In addition to a diet of various plant foods, fish, white meat, my daughter still takes from time to time D and A omega fish oil and different probiotics. We rotate, but preferably bifidum and rhamnosus. My question is, what nutrients what nutrients do I have to balance related to brain health? Dr. William Walsh says only 6 or 7 nutrients matters. And is it necessary to analyze neurotransmitter levels on a child where neurology disorder is borderline, or metabolic test is quite enough? So it looks like the stomach aches must be better, but I am assuming her depression is still there, I think.
Okay.
By this question. So
the question is, what nutrients are important?
Yeah, related to brain health. And is it necessary to analyze her neurotransmitter levels?
So urine, I'll start with the urine neurotransmitter level. Urine neurotransmitter level can be helpful. It's not like the end all be all, because remember, just like the metals, you're just measuring neurotransmitter coming out of your pee. And what you're measuring is neurotransmitter coming out of your pee, which is not the same as the neurotransmitter level in your brain. So it's a misconception that urinary neurotransmitter testing is measuring neurotransmitter level in your brain. It's not the same thing. It has some correlates, but not a direct one-on-one correlation. You're basically just measuring systemic neurotransmitter production. And systemic neurotransmitters do not cross the blood-brain barrier. These neurotransmitters are very large molecules that do not cross the brain. So it's like Vegas. What's made in the brain stays in the brain. What's made in the body is used in the body. They don't really cross. You can get an idea of your neurotransmitter production from from the urine, estimating your system-wide production. But again, that doesn't mean you could be deficient or not deficient, not 100%, right? So it's kind of just looking at overall health. Are you able to make these things in your body, but not in the brain? As far as what nutrient to take for the brain, I mean, it's hard to answer that, because what nutrient to take for the brain? For the brain, what? What specific problem are we talking about? Depression is different than anxiety. Brain trauma, like neuroinflammation, is different than, metals in the brain. So what nutrient's good for the brain is basically what's good for the body. Specifically though in the brain, it's your omega-3 fish oil, especially DHA. DHA from fish oil is very important for the brain. In fact, your brain will actually use DHA to dampen inflammation. And when you do, then you can run low in DHA in the brain. So if you have brain inflammation, taking high amount of DHA can be very helpful. Now your fish oil has DHA and EPA. You can buy product that's just DHA. Usually they don't sell just EPA. EPA is good for systemic inflammation, while DHA is good for brain inflammation. So DHA from fish oil will be a very important thing to take for brain. It's important for the rest of the body too, but especially brain. And it depends on the nature of the brain problem that she's talking about, right? So you say, oh, Dr. Walsh, I know Dr. Walsh's work. He's a great, brilliant physician. His thing is very much into neurotransmitter, copper and zinc and, ratios, and he has a lot of studies in that. I haven't seen that bear out in my practice though, when I try to test those things and try to look at the ratios and try to influence them. Maybe it's the population. People come to me usually with autoimmune. That's my thing. Autoimmune and immune reactions, food sensitivity. That's my population. So people, and those people typically will have like, oh yeah, I also have depression. Oh yeah, I also have anxiety. Oh yeah, I also have skin rashes. Oh yeah, my joint also hurts, right? That's a typical patient of mine. But people don't come to me just with depression, right? So then my population might be different than Dr. Walsh's. So I can't really comment on, there's only 7 nutrients good for the brain. That's important for the brain. I think that's not true, right? All nutrients are important. If you have B1 deficiency for some reason, your brain would go to mush, right? If you have B12 deficiency, your brain, literally your brain would just not work. It'll just go away. It's just, the brain will literally go to mush. So there's a lot of things that can be involved in it. If you have inflammation in the brain, for example, if you have banged your head, then glutathione will be really important. Vitamin D is important. Vitamin A is important. Turmeric will be important if you have brain inflammation, concussion. But if you have heavy metals, then that's a whole different story. Glutathione is still helpful here, but then you might do a metal detox protocol. So that's my best answer for that.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you. So it is 15:15. How much time do you have, Dr. Kang?
I could stay for another half hour.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Wow. Everyone say thank you to Dr. Peter Kang, because that's...
That's awesome.
I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve.
Oh, wow.
So
But I do want to hear from the people. Is this helpful? Please put in the chat, guys. Give me some feedback. Is this helpful that I talk this way, or you just think I'm like kind of annoying? It doesn't hurt my feeling if I'm annoying. I just want to know. I'm just just want to know. All right, good.
I think they love you.
Yeah.
All right. Because if you guys just want to know like what supplement to take, I could say it, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't be helpful, I don't think.
Oh, you're a few people's favorite so far, Dr.
Wow,
Khan.
that's awesome. I actually was wanting to say something along those lines, in the sense that I think it's very difficult to appreciate the value of what you're teaching, in the sense of, because people want that, obviously, that quick answer and that one pill response that we spoke about before. But guys, the value in what you're learning right now can save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of chasing your tail, getting every single test, and buying every single supplement you hear, and whatever it is. Like, just, this is what I think we create this series for, is to learn what you're teaching. It's to become educated, to learn that these symptom pathways, think big picture before diving in. I think this is where you just get extraordinary levels of value if you learn to apply it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I just thought of something, the big picture before you die. That's a great analogy, Matt. And, I just remember, like, how this, hey, my computer's not working. And, people like taking the computer apart, and end up they just need to turn it on, right?
Yeah.
So I think that happens a lot. People are taking it all apart, ordering all this tests. I got to change out, take it to, doctor's data, whatever, data nurse, whatever. And all they need to do is just turn it on. They forgot to turn it on. It's not plugged in, right? So, but if you didn't take a step back, and it's like, it's not working. I changed out the CPU. I changed out the memory. I changed out the keyboard. I changed everything. Like, sometimes you got to like have wisdom, right? It's more, wisdom is just, doesn't mean I'm smart. Wisdom just means like, hey, do what makes sense, and kind of follow some kind of logic here. And I think that's helpful. The continuation of that is, if people want to continue that, there's a lot of videos, free videos on my YouTube channel. Go watch it. There's 200 episodes.
So good.
I think, you'll be Netflixing Dr. Khan right there. Just binge watch me on YouTube. Okay.
Do it.
So good. Yeah, everyone loves you, Dr. Khan. And Erin says, but also please cure me tonight. Thank you.
Wait, what did she say?
She said, but also please cure me tonight. Thank you.
You're healed.
Wow, we're having a healing revival right now.
There you go.
Oh, so good.
All right, back to the questions.
So, Betty, we're going to move to the chat box. So I don't know if it's helpful for you, Dr. Khan, to read them yourselves. I don't know if that is easier than us mumbling through reading them out, or...
Can you see the Q&A chat box?
You can see Betty at the top there.
Okay. Yeah, I can go through some of these. Betty says, I was diagnosed of Barrett's esophagitis, and she must be Australian. She spelled esophagus weird.
That does look Australian to me.
She was diagnosed with Barrett's esophagus in 2017, in addition to Graves' autoimmune disease in 2015, with carbimazole 5 milligram per day leaky gut in 2018 after diarrhea for 6 months. Recent suspected severe food poisoning from frozen berries that caused me to admit to emergency twice in a row due to severe pain. Scan, X-ray, blood test showed normal. Was asked to follow up endoscopy, which I had on November 19th. That's definitely Australia. The month and the day is messed up. Okay, where I was informed that I only had acid reflux from recent suspected severe food poisoning and have been misdiagnosed of Barrett's. What? Misdiagnosed? As happy and glad I am to hear this good news, could you please advise what exactly is considered as Barrett's esophagitis, to ensure that the recent endoscopy is not misdiagnosed again? So, Barrett's, this is like a WebMD question, but the thing is, if they misdiagnose it, so what that means is maybe you had it at one point and you don't have it. You know what I mean? So that's a possibility. Maybe they shouldn't say they have misdiagnosed you. Maybe 2 years ago you had it, and maybe you changed your ways, and now the Barrett's healed. So now you don't have it. They should say the Barrett's is no longer there. They don't see it. It's negative at this time. Instead of saying misdiagnosed, like the first diagnosis was wrong. Maybe it wasn't wrong. Maybe it just went away, right? So I think that's a question for your medical doctor. As far as the thing here, though, the big thing is that you have Graves, and that's autoimmune disease. So that's right up my alley there. And every time I see somebody with autoimmune disease, we just stop right there. Fix the autoimmune, right? You fix the autoimmune. How do you fix the autoimmune? You put the immune system into remission. How do you put it into remission? You find the triggers. What are the possible triggers? Food sensitivity, infections, Could be gut infection, but could be other infection like systemic infection like viruses. So food, infection, toxins, stress, pregnancy can trigger autoimmune, but what do? Put the baby back? Pregnancy is pregnancy, right? Past stress, what do? Go back in time machine? No, you just know that was potentially something to trigger. You try to manage your stress and understand it better. And one thing I want to say about this, I've been saying it a lot the past few days. I don't know why. Maybe I read it somewhere. Your illness is your medicine. The illness is the medicine, folks. Your illness is trying to teach you something about why you have this and what you need to change in your life. Not just your food. Maybe it's your priorities in life. Maybe you take care of everybody else and not yourself. Maybe you're taking on too much. You're a single mom, you have 2 jobs, and you're trying to get a master's degree, and you serve on church Wednesdays and Sundays. Like, too much. You're overextending yourself. It's time to say, no, sorry, I can't help you at church, right? It's prioritizing. Sometimes it's that, or you're in a bad relationship. You're in a job that just sucks your soul away from you. You need to change your job. Sometimes that's a solution. I can't tell you how many times, like when I do a consult, that's what I ask. What's going on with you? What's going on in your life? Because it's holistic, right? Holistic meaning it's not your diet. It's not just your diet. It's everything else too. So your mindset has a lot to do with it. Your illness is trying to teach you something. Your illness is your medicine. Look why you're having this problem. That's perhaps, and I'm not like a sage or like, I'm not that smart. I'm a regular dude, so I'm pretty blocked that way. But, sometimes intuition and you got to figure stuff out for yourself, having some time and downtime to not just run. Modern society is so fast. Slow down, just ask yourself some questions and find soul searching. Sometimes that's where answer will come. So I'm not saying diet's not important, all this stuff, functional medicine, it's all good. That's what I do. But sometimes part of it is, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing in your life? Do you have purpose in your life? Do you hate your job? Are you in abusive situations? That might be your medicine. I don't know. So, all right.
So good. Everyone's loving what you just shared then.
Yeah, everyone's having a mind explosion.
Yeah, we just need that emoji with the brain blowing up.
Yeah.
But a question from Donna. Dr. Khan, do you take on patients and have Skype meetings? I don't live near you.
Where are you reading this? I'm sorry, I missed.
Oh, this is in the chat side. So someone just wants to know if you're taking on patients at the moment.
Yeah, we take on patients. So the best thing to do, just go to our website. Actually, let me say this. The best thing to do is watch the videos, learn about what else could be possible, maybe implement some simple things that I recommend in there that you can implement and see if that makes you better. If you're better, don't have to call me, right? Like my wish for you is that you get better and you find answer, you're enlightened. That's what I want. I want to raise the consciousness here, right?
Oh, wow.
That you're enlightened, then you figure this stuff and you go tell other people about it and you help other people. You have them come watch my videos. That's what I want. If you can't figure it out, then call, okay? And on our website, there's links all over the place. Hey, schedule a discovery call. Talk to my staff. They'll tell you how to get started. It's a free 15-minute call. Start there. They'll tell you, hey, we can help you. Or no, it's kind of weird. We don't know. They'll tell you whether you can, we don't take every person. There's some requirements. You have to be willing to commit and, invest in the process. But, I think good advice is worth it, right? I mean, so what I see people do is they spread out doing 10, 20 different things when they should be just doing like 1 or 2 things laser focused. So, when you work with me, that's what I try to do. Try to get you laser focused on what the real problem is instead of like, let's try 20 things and take 20 supplements. Just so on average, some people more, some people less. On average, my patients take 5 to 6 supplements. Now, tell me in the chat box how many supplements you're taking. Just throw a number in there. Like,
oh wow!
Just let's take a look. Let's take a look, man.
Everyone's counting.
Oh man, I'm a bit embarrassed.
10, 4, 20, 10.
Yeah.
8.
15, 20. Most of the time people coming to me, they're like taking a whole bunch of stuff, and you don't need all that stuff. You're just taking way too much, especially if you're not better. Okay, yeah. If you're better, okay, that's one thing. But it's one thing to be better from taking supplement. It's another thing to like, I have to take these supplements just to have function. then you're just treating it, you're propping things up. It's a crutch, but you're not like actually healing and you're not getting better, right? So the goal is, as little as possible, too many, somebody says. Like again, on average, our patients take 5 to 6. I mean, somebody's taking 8, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Like as soon as I'm able to, I'm going to get you off that extra 3. Like that's how I think. Like I try not to have people take too much. So too much is not good. It's not because the supplement's bad for you, although sometimes it can, because sometimes you can take the wrong supplement and actually make yourself a little bit worse, especially if you have autoimmune disease. But it's just not effective. It's not elegant, and it's not right to take a bunch of supplement. Now, if you just like to take supplement because it's a sport for you, okay, cool. Like I'll go with you head to head. I take a lot of supplement, but not because I have to, because I want to. And I experiment with myself. I hack myself, but I don't have any real problems. And most days, I don't take that much stuff, really. Sometimes if I feel a sore throat coming out, I'll take stuff. But like really, you don't have to. There's times when I experiment, I'll take a whole bunch of stuff, but not because I have to. Okay, so just take that for what it's worth. Take less. And how you can take less is being more specific. How you can be more specific is even knowing what the problem is. Take a step back. So hopefully the videos and this interview help you, and the videos help you on my YouTube channel. If you need help, call. We'll see if we can, help you. Okay.
I think most people probably have never heard that. Like we interview a lot of people in this space, and obviously we know a lot of people, but how many people are basically saying, "Oh, just watch my videos. It's all free, and then hopefully you get fixed from that." Like that's just like the total opposite of thinking that's driving these big, like pharmaceutical, like industrial complexes. Basically, is in the sense of it's monetization of disease. Yeah. And this is what we're addressing here, which is profound what you said, which a lot of people could have missed. It's raising the consciousness that we're all connected, we're all here for each other, and getting this information out here so we can help everyone, that not only can help yourself, which is probably why you're here, but we need to help each other. We need to be equipped to help each other. So thank you so much again. That's quite a profound and generous thing that you said. And the first time anyone's really said something like that on a call. So
Dr. Newsom did. He was Dr. like, Newsom. Anyone has questions, email me. And then, like, his team was so bombarded, but he loved it.
This is when you're onto the right person and the person with the right thinking.
Exactly. So generous. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Everyone, I think you have a lot of fans here tonight, Dr.
Khan. Okay. Somebody here. I'm just going to do this one right here. Sure. Chris in the chat. Mm-hmm. She says, she asked a question multiple times. I didn't really look at the chat because there's a lot of things in the chat.
Yeah.
She got an answer. Have you dealt with, and do you know if there's a way to heal and prevent venous stasis ulcers? Venous stasis ulcers. Not familiar with that one. Let me see. Oh, the message bumped away. Let's see. Have you dealt with, and do you know if there's a way to heal and prevent venous stasis ulcers? Is there a supplement or a change in diet that will help with this? Or is it totally caused by poor blood flow? Now, obviously with venous stasis, anything, just by the word, there's blood stasis, poor blood flow. Venous stasis ulcers, that's an interesting one. Like ulcer caused by poor blood flow. So I'm not understanding the mechanism of the disease. So yeah, I don't have any answer for that. I don't want to tell you something that I don't know. Okay, so I don't know everything, guys. I do not know everything. Okay, so all right. So do you guys have any specific ones?
Yeah. So Wendy, what do you think about taking structured silver? It is possible that it really kills all of the bad bacteria, virus, and fungi, and leaves the good stuff alone. Sorry if this.
Yeah, I don't use colloidal silver a lot. It's not because it's not effective. It's just people can readily get that, and people are already taking it. Mm-hmm. Does it kill everything? It doesn't kill everything. If it did, nobody would be sick, right? You just take some structured silver and all your gut problem will be gone. I would say this, okay, here's another lesson here. So, we typically think about, okay, you have infections, you have gut infection. Let's say, and I'm sure some people in this audience tonight will share this, that you have multiple infections. You have like SIBO, you have gut bacteria. You had done a stool test, shows you have a bunch of gut bacteria. And then you also have viruses. You have Epstein-Barr, you have herpes, you have more than one virus. And then you have Candida. And on top of that, you have parasites. Like, okay, what don't you have, right? So if you share that, if that's you, say, that's me in the chat box, that you have multiple infections.
OMG, he's talking about me, says Marilyn.
I knew it. I just know because that's
Elizabeth,
who I
that's
help
me.
all day. So for those of you that say that's you, here it is, okay? Here it is. If you have multiple infection, you didn't catch the infection. Let me repeat that. If you have multiple infection, you didn't catch the infection. You just can't get rid of it. We always catch infections all the time. That's normal. But if your immune system's working properly, you're getting rid of infection. You don't even know you get rid of infection. You're just like, hey, I feel fine because your immune system's doing its job. So you got all these infections because your immune system can't get rid of it. Now, why can't you get rid of it? Is this concept of bioterrain. Bioterrain means your internal milieu, the environment in your body, like the pH or the toxins and your gut microbiome and blood sugar and things like that. So if you have a dirty environment in your body, right? Toxic and chemicals and inflamed and all the stuff, just think about a garbage can, right? Did the fly attract the garbage can? Or should I say this? Did the garbage can attract the fly, or did the garbage attract the fly, right? So the garbage can is like your body. It's the can, it's a container, it's a vessel. But if you have a bunch of trash in the garbage can, the fly is gonna come. What if you cleaned up all the garbage in the garbage can and the garbage can don't smell anymore? The fly goes away, right? So think about when you have multiple infections, sometimes, we gotta go get rid of infection to keep it under control, but you have to rebuild the house at some point. You have to build your immune system up so you can actually fight something. So a lot of time when I see people with multiple infections, we're working on those, but I'm also really working on the immune system, and that's not echinacea. When I say working on the immune system, it's not taking mushrooms, just that, right? It's, again, this is kind of a really complex topic. I would recommend go to the YouTube channel and look up within the YouTube channel, things about immune system, Th1, Th2, immune system. That's the stuff that you kind of want to work at. Because for a lot of people, it's this imbalance between the immune system that you can't shift the gear out of that. And you end, so chronic inflammation, I'm gonna give you a 30-second. Chronic inflammation suppresses your killer cells, the white blood cells that kill bad guys. And when you suppress the killer cells, you can't fight off infections, especially infections in hollow spaces. Hollow space infections are sinus, respiratory, bladder, so you get chronic UTIs, vaginal tract, bacterial vaginosis, and gut, right? All these SIBOs, the gut is a hollow space, right? So these hollow spaces, you can't fight off these things because your immune system is shut down, because you have inflammation. Now, why inflammation? You may have some infection in the first place, like gut infection, and that gut infection started to cause inflammation, and that inflammation starts suppressing your immune system, and now you're catching a virus. Now you're catching Candida. Now you're catching other things. So it may have started in the gut, or may have been something else that triggered inflammation. So you get in this vicious cycle of immune suppression. That's why you catch everything. So you can kill everything, but you're not necessarily balancing things. You got to balance and restore the body. It's kind of like, a house is all messed up. So you can go in and rip out the carpet, rip out the countertops, but at some point you got to put in new carpet and new countertops, right? You can't just rip everything out and leave it like that. You have to rebuild the thing so you're in a livable condition. Okay, so hopefully that helps.
So good. So good. Would you like to pick another question from the Q&A chat box, Dr. Khan?
I'm gonna take the Q&A. I'm gonna scroll down like a spin and see where it lands.
It's like a game show.
Yeah. All right, I landed on Diane Hanby. Okay, my issue seems minor compared to these other people. Oh, I finally got an easy one. No, my issues seem minor compared to these other people's issues. I have uncontrollable gas daily, constantly. Well, that's not good. It's been going for years. I've cut out the typical foods that are obvious. I cannot walk across the room without noise. I have both constipation and diarrhea. If I don't eat, I don't have gas. Okay, right there. I think you're talking about this right now. I'm 71, great health other than that. So if you eat, then you get gas, you got fermentation. That could be SIBO or SIFO, meaning bacterial or fungus. That could also, though, be decreased brain function, like decreased vagus nerve function. As we age, we typically have decreased vagus nerve output as we age. So that's why, keeping the brain healthy, stimulating the brain, and exercising the vagus nerve, that's all really important. So it could be either you have some kind of bacterial or candida issue that's fermenting against these things. Now, in this question, Diane, you didn't say if you're treating anything specific, you just cut out the food. So this is where I talked about earlier. Maybe it's not just the food. Maybe you know to go beyond the food. Maybe you need to treat some underlying infection or look at if there's any neurological connection, brain-gut axis problem that may be causing that problem. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to do this one. Pam Thompson. This is the very last question on the Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
Pam asks, what would you recommend for a chronic sinus issue? I have been suffering with this for many years with no relief. That's exactly what I was talking about right before this. Infection in hollow spaces, right? Sinus. So anybody here that have chronic sinus infections, anybody here that have chronic UTIs, urinary tract infections, chronic bacterial vaginosis, chronic yeast infection in the vaginal area, chronic upper respiratory issues, like you get bronchitis all the time. These are sinus, or these are hollow space infections. And typically when that happens, like I said earlier, you get this inflammation, suppressing the immune system, then now you're more likely to catch other infections. A lot of this can start in the gut. That's where the gut solution comes in. And then that creates more inflammation, more immune suppression, becomes a vicious cycle. Okay, so this chronic sinus, so what do I recommend? Look to see where it started. Now, a lot of time we start with the gut, right? So you have to see if you have any gut infections that you need to clear. And it's about balancing that immune system. Again, there's videos on my website. I would recommend the videos, everybody. Please watch the Ask Dr. Khan Show, episode number 168 to 171. Don't ask me why I know that, because I know that was a series that I made. So it's like episode 168.75. That's crazy. Okay, episode 168 to 172. Watch those. That's talking about these hollow space infection and immune imbalance. Just watch that. Trust me. Okay. It'll be a good, you should really watch all of them at some point, but those 5 will talk about specifically those issues. But there's other videos that I have made previously that kind of lay the groundwork for these as well. So 168 to 172. Those are like the recent one that's going to address this sinus infection and hollow space infection.
Brilliant.
Any
We
more?
got any other, what would you say, spin the Q&A or fortune thing?
Q&A fortune.
This time I'll give it a little lighter spin because we went all the way. Wow, let's go all the way. This is a slinky wheel. It goes all the way to the bottom. Okay, so I had to spin up. Gosh, just gonna throw a dart. All right, so Kristen Young. Do the parasites associated with toxoplasmosis that lead to a vision impairment, oh no, in my left eye as a child, still pose a threat to me now, almost 50 years later? In addition, can I do anything about neuritis or peripheral nervous system damage, which was caused by a viral infection 10 years ago? So again, so we have a lot of these, examples. This person had toxoplasmosis, which is a parasite, and then viral infections, perhaps other things going on. So that's more than one infection, right? Now, so the thing with the toxoplasmosis is a parasite that a lot of people actually have, but don't cause problems. It's kind of like one of those things like herpes simplex 1, the oral herpes. If your immune system is really strong, the toxoplasmosis doesn't affect you. In the immune-compromised individual, toxoplasmosis can be deadly, okay? And toxoplasmosis get into the brain, get into the eye, get into muscle tissue, cause a lot of issues. So that's really unfortunate that you had that, because that's a very serious consequence of toxoplasmosis. So the question is, can it still pose a threat? Yes, because the toxoplasmosis, they lay eggs, or we call them cysts, and those cysts can stay inactive in your system for a long time, and they can reactivate themselves, just like Epstein-Barr and herpesvirus, if your immune system becomes compromised. So you really need to work on, strengthening your immune system. In addition, can I do anything about my neuritis or peripheral nervous system damage caused by viral infection? That depends on how much neuritis or peripheral nervous system damage has occurred and how long it has been damaged, because you have a window of time for nerves to grow back. So it depends on the nature of the peripheral nervous system damage and how long it's been. Ongoing symptoms, brain fog, muscle fatigue, possibly constipated. Possibly. Also, is it possible that my mercury feeling in my teeth had got anything to do with any of my symptoms? Mercury feeling in the teeth, yes, possibly. I say possibly because I don't know. Because some people have mercury feelings and they do just fine. And other people, they do terrible, right? So a lot of it depends on genetics, how your body handle it, your other health problems that you have. As far as the brain fog, always, if you have brain fog, remember my whole theme throughout tonight was, what's the physiological mechanism behind the symptom? Why do you have that symptom? On a cellular level, what's producing it, right? Brain fog is basically brain cells inflamed, so the nerve-to-nerve conduction of message from one neuron to another is slowed or compromised due to inflammation in the brain. So if you have brain fog, just say equal brain inflammation. So I bet a lot of people have brain fog here. Say brain fog, type brain fog if you have brain fog. It's going to be one of those things where almost everybody, just kind of, come on guys, don't be shy, give me some feedback here.
Yeah, here we go.
You have brain fog, right? So people are like, what the heck is brain fog, right? If you don't know what brain fog is, you probably don't have it, number one. If you have brain fog, then you need to basically say, my brain is inflamed. That's what it is. That's the physiological cellular level, what's happening that's causing the brain fog. Then the next question is, what's causing the brain inflammation? Why is my brain cell inflamed, right? That's the question, isn't it? Now, what's the trigger? What's causing it? Again, food sensitivity, metal toxicities. Stress can cause brain fog, like high cortisol, blood sugar problems, leaky gut. If you have leaky gut, you're gonna have leaky brain, blood-brain barrier compromised. Then stuff that normally doesn't get through to the brain, gets through to the brain, trigger brain inflammation. Now you have brain fog. So, it's basically kind of there's some universality to it, right? Address immune function, find the triggers, find the underlying root cause, do some priority stuff, start with blood sugar, blood pressure, digestion, take the roadmap. So you're not doing the 10th step first, you do the first step first. A lot of times people's like, I have so many things wrong with me, so I'm going to do 20 things. Or I have so many things going on with me, I'm going to take testosterone replacement because I heard that's sexy and that's going to make me have libido again. That's going to fix my brain fog. Not really. That's like the last thing on the list. You need to take this roadmap and kind of fix blood sugar, blood pressure, digestion, leaky gut, inflammation, infection, detox, and then you get to the hormones. But a lot of people just going straight for the hormone. Like, hey, my naturopath told me to take estrogen and progesterone. They say that's going to make me feel better. Do you feel better? Well, yeah, I don't have hot flash anymore. But how about your brain fog? How about your leaky gut? I mean, what's estrogen and progesterone doing for leaky gut? It does nothing for leaky gut, really. So you're not really fixing one of the main steps on here, right? So even if it does make some symptom better, what are we really doing to fix the foundation? It'd be like you have I use this example because I'm not very handy. So if I buy an IKEA furniture, anything I have to put together, I have to read the manual. Like if you throw away the manual, I'm screwed, right? So the manual goes like step 1, step 2, step 3, then put a leg in the chair, then screw this in. That's how you build this thing, right? If you go like step 7 on this instruction book on how to build this table or chair, the chair's going to come out funky or just don't come out at all because you didn't follow that step by step. Okay, so a lot of time for people, that's what they need. So on my video channel, on my YouTube channel, it describes some of these things. You watch it, try to put it together, but again, this is not like a replacement to, work with a doctor and but again, if you just get enlightened with that and you got some really helpful, and you can like ask better questions of your doctor, that might be already helpful. And if you can't figure it out or your doctor can't figure it out, then give us a call. I'd be more than happy to help you. I'm here to help people. But obviously there's only one me, there's a lot of people, I can't help everybody. So, we do the video first and do the discovery call, and, we'll talk. But that's why I tell people, go watch the video first, right? You have to adopt that consciousness and that mindset first. And then you'll be able to ask better questions. So by the time you even got to me, then we can be on the same frequency and talking the same thing. Otherwise, it's like very difficult. You know, imagine somebody come to me who have never watched my, in fact, the videos are homework before you can even see me. It's like, I try to tell them about these, you know, pathways and stuff. They're just like, okay, great. What do I take? Like, oh gosh, you know, the what do I take question is like, you didn't watch any video, did you? You know, so don't ask what do you take, ask what's actually causing that symptom. What's the root cause and what's producing that? So then how can I work my way back, reverse engineer it and get to the answer? Okay?
Yeah. Wonderful. I'm looking at the Dr. Khan show on YouTube, and I'm seeing that a lot of your videos are with a whiteboard, which my personality really appreciates. Oh, yeah. Hang on. I'm playing you. Stop.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. So specifically, I mean, there's a lot of other videos too, but the Ask Dr. Khan show is like my weekly, every week I put one out. So there's new content every week. And then there's other, you know, little things that I put out here and there. But the Ask Dr. Khan show is the main content. And it's all in our blog, on our website. It's basically held in several places. But yeah, I think that's a great place to start for most people. And then once they get into that ecosystem and watch enough videos, they'll sort of catch my drift. And they kind of start to see a pattern of like the stuff that I talk about. That's how you become like a good advocate for yourself.
So make sure everyone's subscribed. You can subscribe. If you haven't used YouTube much, you can subscribe and then click the notification bell. And the notification bell will give you a notification to your browser every time a new video is up, so you don't miss anything.
Absolutely, yeah. And also you can you know, on our website, we have places where you can opt in to get like you know, our gut repair program, which is like a leaky gut protocol. It's our version of it, very similar to what you know, most people's gut repair program is very similar, right? But I talk a little bit more about blood sugar stabilization because that's like the first step to the, you know, the pathway. So I talk a little bit about that in the gut repair program. So you can go to our website and, you know, sign up for our, you know, email list and we'll send you useful stuff if you want to. Okay.
Wonderful.
So good. Make sure everyone you take him up on that to be, really good information. So what is it just us, same website for them?
Ask Dr. Khan, and it's K-A-N. There's no H in it. A lot of people type in K-A-H-N, kind of mess it up. So that, and then the YouTube is just YouTube, and type in Peter Khan, DC. That's my name and my degree, DC. And then, if you just type in Dr. Peter Khan, YouTube, you know, bald-headed Chinese guy is going to pop up. There's not that many, just me, bald-headed Chinese guy. So that's pretty easy to identify once you see that.
We've got people that have subscribed already. That's good.
And if you've enjoyed tonight, and obviously we've gone overtime crazily, which is obviously, thank you so much. We'll just please in the chat box to say thank you to Dr. Khan, because it's been such a enlightening Q&A and the value is so high, so ridiculously high. So thank you so much.
No, I should be the one thanking you guys for you know, giving me an opportunity to speak here with your group and you know, giving me a platform to share, you know, what's on my heart. You know, this is what's on my heart, right? It's not about, hey, take this. It's about, you know, sharing wisdom, you know, and remember, wisdom is gained from making mistakes. So I made plenty of mistakes, and this is just kind of like, and my brain kind of works that way, kind of like, okay, what's the contrarian side of it? Like, because if something's going to be true, it has to be true in all situations, or it's not true, right? So I try to speak on things that, okay, it's going to be true if I speak this way because it's always going to be true, which means there's no two-person alike. So I can't give you blanket recommendation, but I can only tell you how things might work so you can figure out what your solution might be, okay? And then if you want us to help you figure that out together, you know, we can, you know, have a case review together and try to help you that way. Okay.
Awesome.
So good. Thank you so much.
You've seen the stream of thank yous.
Yeah, the chat box.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for the kind words. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, if you guys ever you know, have a spot to fill, I'd love to come back on and go more in depth with you guys.
We'd love to have you. We'd be very honored. So
all right. Thank you so much. If your question hasn't been answered, make sure you reach out to Sarah@goodnesslover.com. And then we can prioritize you for a high priority list for the next Q&A, next thing. But thank you so much. I'd like create this chat response is definitely probably the biggest chat response we've ever seen. So it just shows your love, like your heart, and how much people have resonated with your teaching. And I said at the start of the call that you have a gift for teaching, and I think that's just evident. from the response and just all our emojis, collective emojis, mind explosions.
Must be the hair. Must be the hair. Hair jokes always work, so I got to do it at least one time every time I speak. So, anyways,
people are calling for an encore. Yeah. But you have a good rest of your conference there. Where was it?
The business trip? Where did you say?
Atlanta. So enjoy Atlanta. Yeah. Travel safe, and we will have you on a call again. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Yes. Stay on course. This has been an incredible Q&A. So can't wait.
I just want to give a shout out to Audrey in the chat. I recognize her. So she's. I just want to say, Audrey, I see you. She works with me. So awesome. Thank you guys. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I hope I'll talk to you guys again.
Very much. All right. Thank you, Dr. Khan. See you later, everyone.